Good morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning. Glad to see everyone here today. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed from that extra hour of sleep. No one showed up bewildered at 9:30 wondering where everyone was, so don't ever let it be said we can't follow directions. But welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. My name is Steve Costello, and I'm pleased to be your worship associate today. If you're joining us for the first time, a special welcome to you. We're very glad that you're here. We come together at FRS online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. If you're worshiping online and would like to access this morning's order of service, please click on the link just below the live stream. If you would like a large print order of service or hymnal, please ask an usher and they'll be happy to help you out. So unfortunately today, because of a family emergency, Patricia Rocker will not be able to join us. Rest assured, we will have her back at a later time to share her words. We do have with us a man who needs no introduction, Alan Seal. I'd like to draw your attention to the many activities and events happening here at the church and listed in your order of service. On Tuesday, November 7, join Reverend Rebecca for a UU study group. This monthly gathering will discuss UU theology, values, and beliefs. Whether you're brand new or a lifer, there's something to learn from sharing our thoughts and questions with each other. This month, the group will be discussing the history of various elements behind our Sunday worship service. The discussion group will meet in the lower meeting house from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Also, in less than 2 weeks, on Friday, November 17, to be exact, FRS will host the Grateful Gathering auction at the Newburyport Senior Center. It's our biggest social and fundraising event of the church year. We will provide dinner, wine or beer, festivities, and a chance to bid on many fellowship experiences and services. We ask you to please purchase your tickets today to help us determine the head count for the wonderful meal that will be cooked by our own Cynthia Gabriel Walsh. Just scan the QR Just scan the QR code in the order of service or on the FUUN team's hats. That's the fun team. On their hats to pay by credit card. You can also pay with a check or cash at the auction table or the church office. If you need financial assistance to attend, please reach out to Reverend Rebecca. A fun time is guaranteed for all, and we'll see you there. Let us take this time to be reminded of our connection to the earth and all beings that derive life from it. Thank you. It's good to be together. And for starters, let's share our land acknowledgement. We honor that we are standing on land traditionally occupied by the Kawasuk Band of the Pennacook Abenaki people. Pennacook, also called Merrimack, means bottom of the hill. We acknowledge that these people were horrifically colonized, stripped of their lives and dignity, and robbed of the land they loved and stewarded. We also acknowledge that they're still here, living with us and among us, offering their many gifts to the community in many and diverse ways. We say that the spirit and therefore the heart of this land is your land, Kawasuk Band of the Pennacook Abenaki people. Our call to worship this morning are words of the Chinese poet Yi Lei. Autumn wind chases in from all directions, and 1,000 chaste leaves give way. Scatter in me the seeds of 1,000 saplings. Let grow a grassy heaven, on my brow a sun. This bliss is yours, living world, and alone it endures. Music at midnight, young wine, lovers hand in hand by daylight, moonlight. Living world, hold me in your mouth, slip on your frivolous shoes, and dance with me. You are faithfully called to worship. Now please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, number 1001 in the Teal hymnal, Breaths. One important note here that Justin wanted to make sure I emphasized is that if this hymn is new to you, which it was to me, you are invited to listen to the choir sing the chorus and verse 1 before everyone is invited to join in singing the chorus again, followed by verse 2. Please be seated.
Please join in the lighting of our chalice. The words are in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up and remember as a sacred encounter with our world. There are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I will invite you to respond saying, Peace, Sol, Shalom. Our first candle is lit for indigenous communities throughout the United States as our nation observes Native American Heritage Month. It is a time to celebrate the traditions, languages, and stories of Native American, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, and affiliated island communities, and ensure their rich histories and contributions continue to thrive with each passing generation. May we strive to acknowledge the impact that relocation, forced assimilation, and lack of critical funding has had on indigenous communities across the country, and commit to elevating those issues while empowering tribal governments and indigenous peoples in this month and every month. To this we respond, Peace, Sol, Shalom. Our second candle is lit for Nagorno-Karabakh, an historically Armenian region that has been ethnically cleansed by the Azerbaijan military over the last 2 months. Azeri forces have destroyed cultural monuments, grave sites, and forced over 100,000 Armenians to leave their homes after a months-long blockade. All the while, the international community has remained silent. We pray for the courage not to look away from human suffering and for the resilience to speak out in solidarity with all people who suffer violence. To this we respond, Peace, Sol, Shalom. Please rise in body or spirit as we join our voices in our affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. The words can be found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Seated.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I would like to invite any children that are with us today to come up here to the chancel and join me. I'm going to read a story. This one's a little tall. He's going to help me out. Hey, friends. My friends, you're going to want to see these beautiful pictures. Come find a seat over here in front of Charlie. Don't be shy. on that side. That's fine. We'll work with it. So, my friends, this is a story that is based on a song with the same name as the title of this book. It's Still This Love Goes On. It's a song written by renowned Cree singer-songwriter Buffy St. Marie. And it has beautiful illustrations by Cree Metis illustrator Julie Flett. It's a love letter celebrating seasons, place, indigenous traditions, and community. Sat beside a beaver dam and watched the winter grow. Ice was hard with little tracks appearing on the snow. Fog is in the valley now, and all the geese have gone. Across the moon, I saw them go. And still, this love goes on. Still, this love goes on and on. Once, I saw the summer flowers turn the fields to sun. Up and down the mountainside, I watched summer run. Now the fields are muffled in white, and snow is on the dawn. Morning comes on shivering wings. And still, this love goes on and on. Still, this love goes on. In every dream, I can smell the sweet grass burning, and in my heart, I can hear the drum. And hear the singers soaring, and see the jingle dancers. And still, this love goes on and on. Still, this love goes on. Fancy dancer, come up north to see some friends of his. Fell in love in a powwow town, and you know how that is. Beaded girls and painted ponies turn your life around. And now you're singing Kisa Kitin, ha ha, on and on. You guys, Kisa Kitin means I love you in the Cree language. In every dream, I can smell the sweet grass burning, and in my heart, always hear the drum. And hear the singers soaring, and see the jingle dancers. And still, this love goes on and on. Still, this love goes on. The end. Thank you, everyone. And now, please join us in singing the hymn, Go Now in Peace, and we will all go down to Young Church.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. The November shared collection goes to support Essex County Habitat for Humanity, bringing people together to build affordable homes, strengthen families, and foster hope. Habitat families buy their homes after they provide between 240 and 360 sweat equity hours to build their own home and other families' homes. Since 1985, 124 new homes have been built and 49 homes rehabbed. This includes a recent project in Salisbury. Please give so one day everyone will have a decent place to live. To give online, please use the link in your order of service below the live stream. You can also make a contribution by text, and of course you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
All the
Each week, we lift up the joys and sorrows of our beloved faith community. Betsy Hazen, our pastoral care associate, will light the candles as I read what has been shared with me in advance of today's service. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow to be read in the service, you can always send an email to betweenus@frsuu.org or write in the book located in the vestibule. We light a candle of joy for our Crossing Paths youth group, whose exploration of Christianity culminated last Sunday in a service at the Central Congregational Church in Newburyport. Central Congregational has historical ties to FRS, as it was founded in 1767 as the North Church after 53 people amicably separated from FRS over a disagreement about the successor to Reverend John Lowell. What are you going to do? I guess you start a new church. After a service celebrating All Saints' Day, the youth and guides engaged in a Q&A with Reverend Dr. Chris Ney. What a great program. Thanks so much also to the adults and the youth who are making that possible. In addition, Betsy and Doug Latham write, once again, please keep our longtime neighbors in your thoughts. John has ongoing serious health issues, and on Tuesday, his wife Sue fell and broke her arm. We light one final candle, representing all those joys and sorrows, though unsaid, that are unsaid, are held in just as much love and care.
Before I share this recording, I just want to share that this was something that Patricia Rocker shared with us. It is sad that she can't be here, so we will enjoy this music that she wanted to share with all of us this morning.
Our reading this morning is Eagle Poem by Joy Harjo. To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know, except in moments steadily growing, and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. When we see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born, and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle, rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty.
Good morning. You know, when you're lying in bed and it's thinking it's been wonderful to have that extra hour of sleep, and this morning I can have a walk and I can have a nice breakfast and a meditation, and then I'm out for my walk and I'm about halfway along on the walk, and I don't usually look at my phone during a walk, but something said, you should look at your telephone right now, at your email. And there was an email from Justin, and he said, can you help? And so the second half of my walk was sort of organizing what is it that I would bring today. And it's really wonderful to be here with you. So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, Justin, for reaching out. So, you know, that poem of Joy Harjo, I've loved that poem for a long time, and I hadn't thought about this story that I want to tell you now until just hearing that poem again. In the 90s and early 2000s, every summer I taught in some spiritual conferences in the summertime, those things that sort of happened in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s and don't really happen so much anymore. And so in one of those conferences, I met Mary Elizabeth Thunder, who was an elder in the Lakota tradition. And we got to know each other a little bit, and she asked me towards the end of that week, of that conference, she said, you know, I'm hosting Wolf Song next summer. Now, Wolf Song was a World Peace Council of Indigenous Elders, and she was hosting Wolf Song, that was number 7, I think, on her ranch in Texas. And she said, I'd like to invite you to come as an elder and to speak. I didn't really know what that meant, but I said, sure. So I went, and there are 3 stories. There are many incredible things that happened in those 3 days. There were about 80 elders there from 6 continents, and from all indigenous cultures of all traditions. And then there were about 300 people who had come to sit around in a circle around the elders to kind of observe the proceedings and be a part of what was unfolding. And so there are 3 stories, though, that come to me this morning from Wolf Song. The first one is kind of funny. There was a separate tent for the elders to have our meals, and so I learned on the first day that you eat a very big breakfast because lunch will come, but it's anybody's guess as to what time that will be. There was sort of time was a very free-flowing thing at Wolf Song, and so on the 3rd morning, I was sitting in the elders' tent for my breakfast, and Susan Weed came to sit down beside me. Now, some of you of a certain age may know who Susan Weed is. She was a feminist activist and a vegetarian activist, and I think really activist is the main word here. And so Susan came down and she sat down beside me, and I'm sitting there with my breakfast, and I look over at her plate, and it is piled high with bacon. And I looked at her and I said, Susan, she said, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So there you are. from Susan Weed. There are two other pieces, though, that are a little more serious that to share with you and to kind of lead us into what we'll talk about today. Two other memories. One is the drum beat. That from the moment that the conference, that this conference began, open air and out in this ranch in Texas, from the moment it began, the drum was beating around the ceremonial fire. And there were people whose assignment was to be at the fire, to keep that drum beat going 24 hours a day for the whole time that we were there. Our theme this year is interconnectedness, and this month we're talking about diversity. And when I come back to that moment and realizing that no matter where I was on the land, you could hear the drum beat. And we can always hear the drumbeat of humanity within our hearts if we just listen. If we listen like Joy Harjo talked about in that poem, of listen to what's in the air. Listen to the nature, listen to the world around us. We talk in my work of transformational presence that there are messages everywhere. And our job is to pay attention. So that was the first thing, that drumbeat never, ever stopped. And there was something that just resonated in the heart of my being from that. Feeling the sense of connection with all of these elders from these indigenous cultures. I will say that it was the first time I had kind of been the white boy in a huge circle of extraordinary people. The second one was that, as I said, the time was kind of free-flowing, but no matter what was happening, at sunrise, we went to the side of the mountain and watched the sunrise and did ceremony around the sunrise. And no matter what was happening as sunset time came, there was a procession to say goodnight to the sun. And that awareness, that sense of connection to the earth, to one another, to the natural rhythm of life was incredibly powerful. So, diversity and interconnectedness. I'm not an expert on diversity. Some of you in this room are much more expert in that field than I am, but I know something about interconnectedness. And I also recognize that the fundamental worldview that shapes every choice and decision that we make is whether we believe that everything is connected to everything else or everything is separate. And when we come into that awareness of connection, interconnection, and then we come to that topic of diversity, which, well, I suppose how I've worked the most with diversity is diversity of thought and diversity of cultures, working in so many different countries in the world, and recognizing that when we are in that sense of interconnectedness and when we are in that sense of meeting others who are maybe not the same as we are in whatever ways that is, we come up to edges. We come to places that are uncomfortable within ourselves. And so life brings us edges all the time, no matter what the circumstance may be. And so this morning, let's talk about two different sets of three questions that can help us navigate when we get to those moments of the edge. When we come up to that place and we don't know what to do or what to think or where to go next from there. And one of the things I've learned over all these years of doing my work is that when you ask very open, very simple, and big questions, you can use the same questions no matter what's happening. It will take you somewhere. Both of these sets of two questions, you can use them no matter what's going on to find what's next. Where do we go from here? Where do I go from here? So the first set of three questions, the three questions are what wants to happen? A little strange question maybe. The second is who is that asking me to be? And the third is what is it asking me to do? Let's talk about those three a little bit and what they mean for us. That first question, these three questions are what my work in transformational presence are completely based, everything is based on these three questions. That first one, what wants to happen? The question is not what do I want? What do you want? What do we want? The question is much bigger than that. It is taking us to a bigger sense of saying, in the service of something bigger than me, bigger than us, what wants to happen here? And when we take that question, already stretched way beyond how we might be thinking in our everyday life, and we come to the second question, so who's that asking me to be? When I bring that question in front of a team or an organization or a group of leaders, and they kind of look at me like, what does that mean? Who's it asking me to be? Very simple words, but we're not used to putting them together exactly in that way. It means, how's it asking you to show up? What part of you is it asking you to bring forward in that moment? Maybe it's asking you to be courageous or playful or creative or honest. How's it asking you to show up right now? And when we get clear about what is it that wants to happen in a much bigger picture, and who is it asking us to be, the answer to the third question comes pretty easily. So what's it asking me to do? The key is, what is it asking me? There's nothing to figure out. It's just listen, sense, feel. It's calling on our inner awareness. I'll talk again in December, and we'll work with that a little bit more on the inside. This whole piece of recognizing that if we will take a step back and listen, there's a lot of information for us. So what wants to happen? Something will show up. Who is it asking me to be? Let it talk to us first. And then that third question, what's it asking us to do? What's it asking me to do? We're not talking about a multi-step plan. It's just, what's it asking for next? What's the next step? Because today, you can make that long-term plan, but the world is changing every single day. And by the time you get to maybe the third step, probably the rest of the plan is not relevant anymore. So it's about having a vision, it's about having a sense or a calling, and that's the direction we're called to go. But it's not about knowing all the steps yet. We just take each step. And as we take that step, and then go back to question number one, so what wants to happen now? And who's it asking me to be? How's it asking me to show up? And what is the next step it's asking me to take? And on we go. By the time you've gone through those three questions a few times, then you might start to see the next 3 or 4 steps down the path. Something's beginning to come together and show itself to you. So bring to your awareness something that is maybe a challenge or an edge for you right now, and ask, what wants to happen here? In the bigger picture, what wants to happen beyond my opinion? And who is that asking me to be? How is it asking me to show up? And what's it asking me to do? Next step. That's all I need. Just the next step. So that's the first set of 3 questions. The second set is kind of based on those first 3, but maybe takes us into a little more specific moment, those moments when we are really lost. I don't know what to do now. I don't know how I'm supposed to show up. I don't know. I just don't know. And in today's world, we get those moments more frequently. So the first question here is, what's important for me to pay attention to right now? It's kind of related to that first question and the other 3, what wants to happen? Well, so what's trying to get my attention? What is most important for me to pay attention to right now? And as you get that sense of that's what I need to focus on. It doesn't mean the rest is not important. It's just that's what is asking for my attention right now. And the second question then is, that thing that's most important right now for me to pay attention to, what's it asking me to learn? What's it asking me to learn right now? And so we step into that. That learning might take some time. It's not going to happen immediately necessarily. Yet, having that sense of what it's asking me to learn, so therefore, what's my next step? What's my next step? To move into that learning and to ultimately be present with that which is asking for my attention right now. In this incredibly diverse world that we're living in these incredibly unsettled times that we're living in, that are mirrored all the way from what's happening on a global level to what's going on in our daily lives, these two sets of questions can serve us well. To just be quiet for a moment, step back, listen, sense, and feel. Trust that there are answers. Trust that there is something there if you'll pay attention. And you'll find something that takes you to the next step. Thank you. Oh, I have another job. Please stand for the last hymn. Hymn number 112, Do You Hear?
Please remain standing and join in saying our unison benediction as Betsy extinguishes the chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always.
A few weeks ago, Reverend Rebecca talked about the axis mundi, this vertical alignment, this vertical axis within ourselves that connects us to heaven and earth. It connects us to everything that is. This week, pay attention to what's happening in here for you. Pay attention to those 3 questions and 3 questions. Pay attention to the fact that there are messages everywhere. Our job is just to listen. And go in peace and return in joy. Blessings to you all. Thank you.